All right, so I guess we'll just start off. Just tell me, like, how old were you when you made this game, and um, like, what was the sort of inspiration behind it?
Yeah, so I was 11 when I made Crash Bandicoot PC. My parents had got me this software called the Games Factory. Like I had expressed from a young age that I wanted to make video games when I grew up, and so they were kind of fostering this interest and got me the software. And so I was interested in making games, and I was also tangentially interested in Crash Bandicoot sort of from a distance because we were a Nintendo household growing up and we didn't have a PlayStation, but I would, get video game magazines from the supermarket and read about Crash Bandicoot and think, "Oh yeah, I really this game looks amazing and I
Yeah,
want to
right.
play it, but I couldn't play it because we just had Nintendo 64." So, I guess the fan game was sort of a way for me to vicariously experience Crash Bandicoot in a way. The only opportunities I had to play it growing up was when we would go visit my cousin 2 states over. He had a PlayStation, and so we would always want to play Crash Bandicoot when we went over to his house. And so I was
Right.
very much interested in Crash Bandicoot, but it was just sort of at a distance. And so this fan game project kind of helped to fill that gap.
Man, that's really interesting. Like, you're not even like you didn't even have the games at home to play every day.
No,
Most people who make these fan games, it's all they do is play these damn games. So yeah, that's crazy. Um,
yeah, and I did it at a time when fan game resources were kind of scarce too. So like there were no Crash Bandicoot sprite sets or
no.
like background like tile sets that I could use for the game. So what you see in the game was kind of cobbled together from what I had at my disposal. So like I had Crash Bandicoot figurines, and my parents had a kind of a high end document scanner. If at least I think it was high end for the year
Yeah.
2001. So when they weren't using it, I would take my figurines and put it on the flatbed scanner and scan them in like one frame at a time, and that's how I got the sprites for the game.
That's. I imagine that's a really like back ass way of making a game. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think I had read somewhere that that's how they did games like well, not Donkey Kong Country. They used 3D rendering for that, but I think like I don't know if you remember the Neverhood, that was like a claymation
Oh yeah,
adventure
yeah,
game from the time. I think I had read about that and thought, oh, that's a cool way to make a game. Just you take pictures of clay models and take it in one frame at a time. So I think that might have been percolating in my 11-year-old brain somewhere to think, oh, well, I can, just take pictures of my Crash Bandicoot toys one frame at a time and put them in the game that way.
that's insane to me that you as an 11-year-old figured that out because like I'm here at like almost 28. Like, man, why didn't I think of that? That's crazy. Oh man. Um, so was the game made like for anyone or just to upload it? Did it ever go up anywhere?
Yeah, so it was actually made for my cousin, the one who had the PlayStation
Right.
and who
Okay.
had all the Crash Bandicoot games. I had this kind of itch to do video games as Christmas gifts for people because I think I just had tons of time on my hands as an 11-year-old, evidently.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna, make this Crash Bandicoot game and gift it to my cousin. And yeah, I was when I was gathering up the files and kind of going over things for this interview, I was looking at the timestamps to kind of refresh my memory on like just roughly when was this game made, and the scanned images were dated November 2001, and I know I gave it to him that same Christmas. So evidently, I made this whole thing in under a month, which
Oh
is
my
just like
god.
it, insane to me now because as an adult, it's like you have all these other obligations and drains on your time, and
Yeah.
somehow I put this whole thing together in a month, and that just kind of flabbergasts me as
Yeah, that's
33-year-old now.
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I never had anyone make a game for me for Christmas for a start. So like pretty lucky cousin. Like I never got that treatment. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, only a month to make that. That's insane. That yeah, that's surreal to me. Like I mean, you've done a lot of other game projects. I mean, what's sort of the average time to make a game these days?
Oh, easily years now
Yeah.
to I mean they're a lot more elaborate. Like looking back on this fan game now, like there are aspects of it that feel kind of slapdash to me. Like And I'm sure it's riddled with bugs. I mean, I haven't actually
I've got
played
a
it
I've
in
got a
preparation
I've got a
for
list
this.
of bugs here for the next patch, just for
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah,
um,
yeah. I'll definitely be working on that patch right away.
yeah, that's good. That's good. I feel like more
Yeah,
people probably want to play it now than ever. So you
yeah,
never know.
yeah.
Um,
Well, actually, I did want to get this in the interview somewhere. Just wanted to give a shout out. There's another fan game out there that I was heavily influenced by for this one. It's called Mario Quest 2 Sonic Returns. I don't know
right. No, I've
if you've heard of that or anything like
never
that.
heard of
So
that.
it's a yeah, it was made with the same software, and it's basically this RPG story-driven game about how Mario and Sonic are at war with each other. And I played it at the time and thought that this was just like the coolest fan game I'd ever played, like very high production value for the time. And so Crash Bandicoot PC is more or less a carbon copy of that game because I
Right.
was 11 and was not terribly imaginative. So if people do go play this Crash Bandicoot PC game, I want to encourage them to also seek out Mario Quest 2 Sonic Returns because that's like the
Okay. Cool.
better original version of what I
Okay.
did.
You're right. So yours is just like the bootleg copy.
Pretty much, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't like I took his code or anything like
No.
that, but
No. No.
I borrowed the inspiration
Of course. Of course.
for the
I've
kind of the story
I've
template and
I've
all that.
uh I've borrowed the inspiration from a lot of different YouTubers. It's fine. We get that.
Yeah.
So did you ever post it online for people, or was it just strictly for your cousin? Like, how did this? Because I found this on Game Jolt. Someone re-uploaded it.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought you got it from maybe from my portfolio page from like my old fan games
yeah. No, I
page, but
found you afterwards.
that's interesting. Yeah, I have no idea who re-uploaded it, but yeah, it didn't go up at the time because all we had was dial-up internet,
Right,
and I don't know if you remember GeoCities. Like I had a little free GeoCities page
right, okay.
where some of my games I did upload in little zip files, but I think if I'm remembering correctly, Crash Bandicoot PC was too big to upload at the time, so it
Wow.
pretty much just went out to my cousin, and then I have three younger brothers, and I'm sure they played it a little bit, but yeah, it was a different time for the internet where now it's so easy to just upload anything and everything, but back then you kind of had to be a
Yeah.
little more selective about what you wanted to put up there,
Uh,
just because it was just the time involved. You had to like a 60 megabyte fan game could easily take a whole day to upload over
Yeah.
dial up.
Crazy. I mean, that just makes the whole thing more surreal that it was for such a close circle of people, and
Hmm.
somehow it's sort of slightly circulated out, and now it's just this thing because some of the visuals in this game are kind of frightening and surreal. It comes across very sort of like abandonware creepypasta type of thing. So like,
Interesting.
I just really I think that's why I really latched onto it. This is like I know there's a
Mm,
story on this game. It's just really
mm,
cool. Was
yeah.
there ever the version I downloaded come with a like a PDF document with like instructions and stuff, and there was mention of a potential sequel that might have happened at some point. Can you elaborate any more on
Interesting.
that?
Do you remember what the sequel, like, was there a name given to it?
Let's have a look.
I put out a text document with the game. I'm pretty sure it was not a PDF when I
Okay,
put it
I've
together,
got
so
it
that
here.
must have been something somebody
Sequel
else
for
did.
Crash Bandicoot PC was planned for release in 2002. It was going to be called Crash Bandicoot PC 2 Crash Chronicles. It was going to be a
Mm,
sprawlingly massive game that included Games Factory remakes of all the Crash Bandicoot games ever
yeah,
released at the time, which there were only
yeah,
seven of. But unfortunately, the plan was far too ambitious, and we quickly got bored with it and abandoned the project, which valid.
yeah. That sounds accurate. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's weird. I don't that doesn't sound like my voice writing it, so I'm not
Interesting.
sure who wrote that or at what time. But yeah, that's pretty much what I remember is that I had ambitions to recreate all the other Crash games in Games Factory, and then I think I just ran out of steam very early on.
Yeah,
Kind of for the reasons I mentioned earlier, that there just weren't that many resources online for
of course.
art, and I don't think there was even that much music. The Games Factory could only take MIDI files, and I
Mm.
had like one or two Crash Bandicoot MIDIs that were from the actual game, and it was just I got kind of discouraged and just gave up on it, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So speaking of the other Crash games, like I mean, just reading that, and the time frame it was released, there was only so many that were out at the time. Did you realize that something in your game actually predicted something that would happen in a later Crash game?
No, no, not at all. Yeah, could you elaborate on
So
what you're talking
there's
about?
there's a boss fight at the end where Cortex clones Crash, and there's an evil Crash who mirrors your every move.
Mhm.
Well, not long after, I believe it would have been 2002, 2003. There was a
It
Game
was
Boy.
Wrath of Cortex.
Well, there was Wrath of Cortex, and there were the Game Boy games. So on
Mm.
Game Boy Advance, there was Entrance, and in that there was Fake Crash, where there's a boss fight where
Oh,
you control one and mirror the other one. You have to lead the other one into spikes to damage him. So
interesting.
when I stumbled into that in this game, that really blew my mind. That's like you predicted the future almost for that one.
Yeah, because this predates Entranced, I believe.
Yeah, yeah,
I had the first Game Boy Advance game at the time. I'm not sure what year that came out, but I really loved playing that one. And I don't think I ever beat Entranced. So
yeah,
yeah, that's interesting. I
yeah,
wonder if there's some sort of connection there,
yeah.
like
Who
some
knows?
developer on Entranced played this, maybe.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I just thought
Yeah.
that was really cool. Like because it's just
Mhm.
really interesting to see that. It's like you had a very original idea, whereas since then I've played so many of these fan games where there's an evil Crash and all this and that, and
Mm.
it's old news. But you were the first one, so good job.
Interesting. Yeah, I was very proud of myself at the time because it was like you had to do these little programming tricks for when you push down left, the character would have to go in the other direction from what was intended. So
Right.
yeah, I was proud of myself. I do remember kind of thinking, oh, this is really cool. Like, no one's ever done this before.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I didn't realize that that idea popped up elsewhere within Crash games.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really cool. Um, and yeah, I think as far as like the figures, like I've got one here of Tiny
Hmm.
Tiger. Um,
Yeah.
I
I
think
do actually have the figurines from that I scanned. They're here in the room with me.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy because they damage easily, from what I understand, and they're kind of rare these days. So I'm glad you still have them. That's good. Um,
Yeah. Speaking of, I do have a story there. The Coco Bandicoot figurine. She shows up in a few of the levels in the
yeah,
game. I was trying to do the position for her on the water ski, so it's like her legs are
yeah.
forward and her arms are forward like that. And then I was trying to get it in the scanner to get her to, be in that correct position. And the lid fell on the figurine, and I remember the arms and the legs just kind of exploded out of the body, and the
Oh,
whole thing came apart. And fortunately, none of the plastic broke, but the sockets all,
oh,
I guess, there was just too much pressure on the figurine, so the
oh,
whole thing exploded, and I had to put it back together.
oh no.
So
So
yeah, those things weren't really designed for that, I guess.
no. So yeah, there was a few casualties in the process of making the game. Then. Oh
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
So I've got another question. There's a
Mm,
secret boss level with a
hmm.
scanned face that's grabbing at you, and it's just
Yeah.
terrifying. Who the hell is that kid, and why is he
That
trying to
was
get
that
it?
was me.
That was you. Oh.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure I just like stuck my face in the scanner, and just like held it really still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good. I love that. That's you.
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I was are you familiar with, I think it's called the Nick Jones room in Earthworm Jim. Does that ring a
Oh, I'm
bell?
not familiar with Earthworm Jim, but yeah.
Oh, okay, so there's a secret screen, and somebody else can fact check this. I'm not 100% sure if his name is Nick Jones or not, but there's a secret screen in Earthworm Jim where it's like one of the developers just like put his face in the game,
Right.
and it was just like this little Easter egg. I think I was fond of those Easter eggs
Mm,
growing up, where the developers would just insert themselves into the game. I think the Pokemon trading card Game Boy game also had something like that, where one of the
right.
developers shows up as a final boss. And so I think I just wanted to do my own version of that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. You've really built like a fully fleshed out game. Like, there's 25 levels through warp rooms, a secret
Mm.
warp room, hidden bosses, cheat codes. It's kind of insane. And once you unlock the fruit gun, that just turns into just a shooting gallery of just mashing the button to just kill everything on the screen. It's pretty funny. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And the face animation stuff, it gives me almost like Game Boy camera vibes. Hey, you could
Mm.
scan your face with that, and it would like cheaply
Yeah,
sort of animate around for a boss fight. It's
that was
really
that was
neat.
probably also an inspiration because we did have Game Boy cameras and we spent a lot of time taking pictures of ourselves and doing the little animations that were built into the game.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So yeah, where did this game lead you? Obviously, you've made a lot of other games since, and it's obviously gone down a lot of different creative avenues. So you're still making games now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of stayed with me as a passion over the years. So I, stuck with Games Factory for a few more years. It doesn't have a built-in scripting engine, and at a certain point, I reached a point where I outgrew it and needed to start learning how to code. And so from there, I learned programming languages, and then ended up going to college to study computer science. And so I kind of kept video game development as like a hobby slash. I wanted to go into the game industry as a career, and that didn't quite pan out. So it just kind of stayed with me as a hobby. But me and my brother did start an independent game studio, and we've published a couple of games on Steam
Yeah, cool.
in more recent times. So I've kept it alive over the years.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm glad that like obviously, like I understand as well, like creator, sometimes things don't always like pan out how you want, but as long as you've still sort
Hmm.
of got the thing there to focus on and have it there, it's like the fire keeps burning for new projects and stuff
Yeah,
like that. That's really cool.
yeah,
So
and it's interesting what life throws at you. I mean, even if it doesn't pan out the way you think it will, it's like if you keep that thing alive, there'll be other opportunities that come up that are, in some ways more fulfilling than like what you had originally had in mind.
yeah, of course. So do you have any game projects that you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, so my current project is called MonCon. It's an RPG about social anxiety where the protagonist goes into conversations with people and he envisions the conversations as battles with monsters that he has to overcome because of his social anxiety. So
That's
that's
very
that's my current
relatable.
project.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. Like as I was getting ready for this interview, I was getting kind of nervous about it, and my wife reminded me about one of the lines of dialogue from MonCon, just sort of as like encouragement for me to
Yeah,
not be nervous about this interview. So
yeah,
yeah, it
no,
is
that's
it is
good.
a very like relatable, like almost autobiographical game in a way. So anyway, that's what I've been working on for the last couple of years, and I'm hoping to release it later this year. It's getting pretty close to being done. So
Awesome.
that's kind of my main project right now. And if anybody is watching this and that sounds interesting to them, I'd really appreciate like a wish list or some kind of comment on Steam. That would be awesome.
Yeah, awesome. We'll put our links in the description below for MonCon, probably for just your general portfolio where people can find the Crash game and download it,
Hmm.
and all your other work. But yeah, no, that sounds really awesome.
Yeah, it's been a weird road from Crash Bandicoot PC to present day stuff. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, no, definitely would be. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. This is just a nice little fun bit of weird internet history. Like it's just a time
Yeah.
capsule of a simpler time.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the that whole fan game scene from the early 2000s is a very interesting little time capsule of like what's left of it anyway.
yeah. It's a shame that so many like old flash games and stuff are sort of hard to come by these
Hmm.
days or lost. Whereas
Hmm.
now there's a pool of just Unity fan games that people slap together in 5 minutes and upload it, and it's just nothing. Even the ones that
Yeah.
are really good and people put a lot of effort into,
Hmm.
um, those are few and far between. There's a big ocean of sort of trash to sort of swim through, for lack of
Yeah.
a better
You
term.
know, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about like the lack of assets that were out there. Like, there were Mario sprites and Sonic sprites that were kind of floating around the internet, but you really had to be creative to if you wanted to make a fan game, like you did have to put a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears into it to
Mm,
to make something just because you were so limited on like the tools were more limiting and what was available for free assets was more limiting. That I mean social media didn't even exist yet, so like just to
no,
distribute it you had to be kind of resourceful too. So
yeah.
yeah, I think that it forced people to be more creative back then, whereas now it's a little bit easier to make stuff and as a result, there's more kind of low quality stuff you have to sift through.
Yeah, which I mean, they both have their good and bad. Like obviously
Hmm.
the having to find different ways and techniques to make things work encourages creativity, but
Hmm.
I'm glad we don't have to go back to that anymore because it's too hard.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't necessarily want to go back to that. It's definitely nice to have a lot more stuff at your fingertips now.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, thank you very much. Everyone, go
Yeah,
and check
yeah,
out Elliott's stuff in the description below, and I appreciate
yeah.
you taking the
Thanks.
time.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
All right, cheers,
Have a
Jeff.
good one.
Bye.
Yeah. See ya.